Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to the show. Welcome back to Fusilli Grind. This week we're trying something a little bit different. We are doing a tried and true YouTube slam dunk. Welcome to the 2024 Pro Model Skate Shoe Tier List Extravaganza. In order to make this video, I had to do a deep dive, put my finger onto the pulse of the skate shoe industry, and with moderate luck, I was able to turn up 50. Can you believe that? 50 skate shoes. Pro model skate shoes exist in 2024. They're out there. You can go on these companies' websites and buy them today. For this exercise, I specifically wanted to choose pro model skate shoes. That means a shoe with somebody's name on it, a pro skateboarder in most, if not all of these cases. No colorways, just pro shoes, wall to wall, 50 of them. Let's jump into it. Let's see what we got in 2024. Let's set it off with the big boys. Let's set it off with Vans. Vans has the highest number of pro shoes in the catalog at a whopping 7. Vans has been in the game since 1966, which everybody knows because their marketing is super annoying. And in that time, they've come up with some legendary, timeless shoes and some not so legendary, not so timeless shoes. So first, but certainly not least, we have the half cab. The half cab is bar none the longest running pro model skate shoe in the history of skateboarding. Congratulations, Steve Caballero. They knocked it out of the park with this one. Half cab, instant hood classic. I don't think I need to say anything more about it. It's the half cab. You know it. You love it. If you're a Volk guy, if you're a Hesh guy, if you're a Fresh guy, the half cab will get you there. In the Matt Reason episode, of course, I said, no more big boys and dunks. It's time for khakis and half cabs. Half cab is here to stay. It deserves all the flowers it gets. It's a great shoe. I think it's been around for almost 30 years, if not over 30 years. Unbelievable skate shoe. Okay, up next we have the new Ave shoe. This is the much celebrated Anthony Van Engelen's second shot at doing a pro model makeup with Vans. And it's more of the same of the first shoe. It's a sock liner shoe with extra panels and plasticky bits and little bits of foam exposed in the midsole. It looks like it's going to fall apart in one session. It looks like it's flimsy to begin with. I do not have high hopes for this one. I know the first one didn't do very well. I don't have high hopes for this one. I don't know what you're doing, Vans, and I'm sorry. These are going into the what are those bin. Up next, we have the Rollies, the Jeff Rollies. I see what you're doing here, Vans. You're trying to tap into the Journeys, Rave Kid, Jinko Jeans demographic with these. Everybody's been doing it. It's the 90s cash grab. This is a late 90s silhouette, very chunky, not at all in line with the rest of what Vans has going on. I see it selling, but I see it going price point. I see this one going to the Ross Dress for Less. All right, we're going to keep it roasting here. Lizzie Armanto. Congratulations, Lizzie, for being 1 out of 2 of the female representatives of skateboarding pro shoes in 2024. Your shoe looks like every other Vans shoe in the history of time. I don't mind the tonal colorways, but I would rather have a Crockett. The Lizzies are going in the cromulent tier. For you Philistines, cromulent is a synonym for adequate. Shoes that I think are perfectly adequate will be going in this tier. Up next, we have the Gilberts. The Gilbert Crockett High. That is the Gilbert shoe du jour that you can get from Vans. Looks a lot like the Lizzie, doesn't it? Well, it came out before the Lizzie. I think Gilbert kind of smashed it with this one, not gonna lie. It preserves the Vans design language, but does something a little bit cool. Has a little bit of artisanal denim vibe. Totally matches Gilbert's style. I like that it's a cup sole as opposed to a Volk. I've actually skated in a pair of Gilberts before, and I found them actually quite comfortable. They've had enough staying power to remain in the lineup. I think they've been making these Gilberts for about 5 or 6 years now, and I don't see them going anywhere. Gilbert Crockett Vans are moderately fresh. 5 Vans in, and we've got all the categories covered. Up next, Kyle Walker. Another shoe that's been around for a while. I want to say 7 or 8 years now, and still in the lineup, still in the catalog. It's a cupsole. It looks like a low-top Vans shoe. Perfectly cromulent. All right, final Vans Pro model, the Rowan. The Rowan 2. By the way, you can still get Rowan 1s. When I chose these individual models, I decided if there was a Pro that currently has two shoes selling on the market, I would talk about the more timely or more contemporary one of the two. So we have the Rowan 2s. Bit of an abomination, in my opinion. I don't think that these are good. I've seen these in person, on foot. Doesn't do it for me. Pretty gross. What are those? All right, that's Vans 7 Pro shoes. Decent variety of design languages. Mostly cupsole, actually. Oddly enough, considering that Vans is known for their vulcanized soles, but a lot of the classic Vans silhouettes, the non-pro shoes, the authentics, the eras, the slip-ons. That's what the Vault guys are skating. They're not skating any of these. They might get converted to a Gilbert here and there if they live in Brooklyn and wear high waters. Anyway, now it's time for the core skate industry's biggest boogeyman of all time, Nike. First, but most certainly not least, we've got the Janoski. I don't think I need to say anything more. Janoski is an instant hood classic. You already know. This shoe sold untold amount of units. It probably single-handedly turned Stefan Janoski into one of the most money-earning skateboarders of all time, which is pretty amazing considering how little he actually did. He had a few video parts, very good style. You love to see just a regular skate guy win one for once. Up next, we have the GT Blazer. Interesting one because the Blazer itself is a Nike shoe. It's an original Nike silhouette, but the Nike SB GT Blazer bears GT, of course, for Grant Taylor. This shoe is infallible. Go to any skate spot or skate park in the world, some kid will be wearing black and white GT Blazers, and they will be frontside flipping, and they'll be looking good doing it because it's a classic shoe, it's a classic colorway, it's timeless. A little bit of a cheat code because it is kind of a colorway still. It was a pre-existing shoe, it's a basketball shoe from the 70s, retooled for skating, da 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 da. But it's not going anywhere. It's an instant hood classic for show. Up next, we got the Leo. Leo Baker's first out-and-out pro model shoe on Nike. I would say it's been received pretty well. I've seen it on the feet of a lot of team riders. We've got to see Max Palmer, Cyrus Bennett, all the cool guys wearing it. Now we're starting to see clips and photos of guys like Dylan Jabe and Toby Ryan wearing these shoes, so you know that you can huck them down a double set if you need to. Pretty cool look. It's a mid-top Volk, I'm pretty sure, with some good extra skate panels on there. Some of the colorways are better than others. These black and whites go just fine. I would say that they are moderately fresh. All right, we're most of the way through Nike. We've got a couple more. Up next, we have the new Shadwear Wear Max, Shadwear Air Max, whatever you want to call it. Shad's second pro model shoe for Nike. It's a little overly techy. I think it's a little bit late for the 90s, 2000s nostalgia. I think collectively the skate shoe industry sort of dipped their toes in. COVID was a big time for bringing back things from the 90s and things from the early 2000s that didn't work and went away for a reason, and they came back, and I think they're going away again for a reason. The newest Shads, I don't see a lot of people wearing them. I haven't seen them in person yet. I don't think real people are actually skating them. I saw a photo of P-Rod skating in them, but he's pretty far from being a regular Joe skater. I think they're going to sit. I think they're going to go on sale. I think you might see these at your local Ross. Dress for less. All right, it's time for the last Nike of the bunch. It's the Nijas, and I almost forgot about Nija when I was putting this list together because I don't think of Nija as being on brands. I think of brands being on Nija. He's kind of his own enterprise. He flies his own flag. He does his own thing, and his shoe reflects that. His pro shoe, the Nike SB Nija Free 3. What a mouthful. Definitely the longest name of any shoe on this list. And it's pretty heinous. It's getting the what are those treatment. It's a plasticky abomination. It is vegan, though. So, all you freaky vegans, you don't have many options on this list. Maybe you want to jump into a pair of these and go against the grain a little bit. Okay, that's Nike. Pretty decent spread across the board in terms of coolness. They've got some hits and misses. Of course, Dunks will never be going out of style, and you see a lot of pro colorways on Dunks because people like the Dunks. Up next, Adidas, the old three stripes. Our old homies from Herzogenaurach. Let's see what they got. Up first, we have the Busenitz, the Dennis Busenitz Pro Model shoe. It's been around for 20 years. It is tried and true. People love it. Some people swear by it. Nikolai Piombo famously swears by it. I think it's one of Adidas' best pro model shoes that tries to tap into the indoor soccer lineage of the brand, and it sort of melds some of the old indoor soccer models together. It has the long tongue, which I cannot stand. I've had Busenitz before, and I cut the tongue off. I do the short tongue, but then it looks super jank too. Um, but Busenitz are good. They're tried and true. It's still a good skate shoe. It's a good design. It's been around for years. It's not going anywhere. It's not that fresh. I'm gonna give it a cromulent. Up next, we have the Luca Puig Pro Model shoe. He's got a Volk version, which I think does a little bit better than this one now, but this is the original, the cupsole. From a design standpoint, I do like this shoe. I know there's a lot of hate for it, but I think it's a cool shoe. The triangle on the back is weird, but thank God they did something different. I like that it is a lace saver. It has a lace saving design. I don't think that it's sold especially well. There have been some really awful, heinous colorways of it. I don't know what they're doing exactly over there at Adidas, but I think Lucas is cool. I think he does something different. I like to see him skating these things with no socks on the coast of France, doing some tech trick on a ledge. Even though they're not doing numbers and they have so many heinous colorways of these, I think they're moderately fresh. Up next, the Noras. Congratulations, Nora Vasconcelos, for being the second female representative out of the 50 pro skate shoes available today in the year of our Lord, 2024. Amen. From a purely design standpoint, I think the Noras are very cool. I think it's very safe. I like that they tapped into some of the vintage Adidas tennis silhouettes. I can't say I see a lot of people out there wearing it, other than the 2023 Skater of the Year, Miles Silvis. It seems like every clip and every photo in the mag that this guy's had in the past 2 years has been wearing these shoes, so they're working for him. Why not us? I give it a cromulent. Up next, we have a bit of a tricky one. I don't know if this actually counts as a pro shoe. It's called the Aloha Super and is sometimes credited as the Mark Gonzalez Pro Model shoe. I guess the Gons had some input on this. And I've said it before on the show, nobody can get away with these except for Gustav Tonneson. He's a very special boy. We should all wish to be more like him, but we cannot. What are those? All right, last Adidas, the Taishans. The first Taishans were pretty hot when they came out. They had that green and white colorway that looked super cool. But I think it's lost its luster. They went through a couple of redesigns. I think this is the second version of the original mid-top Taishans. Of course, there are the lows now as well. Something about the design of the shoe looks a little bit bulbous or bulky in the wrong places to me. Maybe it's the way that the stripes are sort of truncated at the top. It has sort of a lumpy shape to it. It definitely looks better on foot, but it's not a smash hit. These days, mostly I only see people skating this shoe if they get them for free. I do believe that there's a new Taishan Adidas shoe on the way, a completely new model, an overhaul. I look forward to seeing that. I think that's going to be a little bit more fresh. I think the OG Taishans are going to be showing up more and more at your local Ross Dress for Less. Okay, there's the Adidas shoes. Kind of unremarkable. It's another brand where most of the pro models are not being ridden by the pros. Most of the pros are going to be riding their original classic silhouettes. Superstars, Sambas, Gazelles, Forums, Campuses. Those are the classic Adidas shoes that you're going to see on the feet of your local Carl Aikens. Up next, New Balance. Sort of the Johnny come lately to the megacorp with a skateboard team business model. Up first, we have the Tom Knox, which was released just in time for Tom Knox to retire from skateboarding and get back to parenting his 9 children. And I hope that the revenues generated by the sales of this shoe are putting his kids through school. It's a fine shoe. I like that it's something that's a little bit different than everything else on the board. It's got a little bit of a badminton vibe or a 90s tennis vibe. A little bit techy, nice cupsole construction. It's got some mesh, a little breathability. My feet get sweaty on the sesh. The Tom Knox Pro model, moderately fresh. Up next, we got the Frankies, the Frankie Villani Pro model. These suck. Sorry, Frankie. Love you, bro. I hope they're paying you the big bucks, but these are gonna be in the bins, mate. Up next, we've got a big one, the Tiago, the 1010. That's Tiago's first shoe. I didn't do the second shoe because the second shoe was obviously a flop. You can still get the first shoe, the 1010. This was a big win for the old heads that were saying, "Oh, I can't get dunks. All the kids in my neighborhood buy up all the dunks so they can flip them on StockX." Then New Balance came through and said, "Worry not, old heads. Here is your shoe." It was like, ah. And the Tiago 1010 ascended into instant hood classic status. It's a good shoe. It's a cool shoe. It's a bulky shoe. It's good if you're a skater that's survived the 90s but hasn't been able to let go of the cupsole dream. Tiago 1010, here to stay. We've got a nice formation going here. We've got a very even spread, but I think that's about to change. Up next, it's the Westgates. These are Ross Dress for Less. Sorry, Brandon Westgate. Love you. I love New England. I love cranberry bogs, but these are no good. Okay. Up next, last New Balance on the list is the Jamie Foy Pro model. This is an interesting one because I see this shoe all the time. Oftentimes, it's on 30-year-old guys that go to the skate park early on Sunday. And if it's good enough for those guys, I'm going to say that it's perfectly cromulent. All right, we've only got a few more of the big corporate ones, and then we're going to get into the core skate shit. Let's talk about Converse. Converse cons. They've sort of waxed and waned over the past 10 years as a skate program. Obviously, Converse is owned by Nike now, but Nike has seemed to have done a good job of preserving Converse brand identity. Converse Cons currently has 2 pro models to choose from, the first of which being the Louis Lopez. There's not much to say about it. It's basically a 1-star. It's a low-profile Volk shoe. It's a clean shoe. Lots of guys have had success with it. Guys that come to mind that skate it are Louis Lopez, Chris Athens. I think it stands on its own in terms of design. I think it's going to be around for a while. I like the Louis shoe. I think it's moderately fresh. This whole time, I thought there were only 2 women represented on this pro model shoe list in 2024, but how could I forget Alexis Sablone? I think the only possible explanation is that Alexis is a triple OG. I hold her to a little bit of a higher standard than the other 2 on the list. Sorry, ladies. Not to diminish either of your accomplishments, which are many, but Alexis is the kind of legend that you just love to see get a pro model skate shoe. And she knocked it out of the park. The AS1. I think it's a cool shoe. It harkens back to 80s basketball stuff. Looks like a durable shoe. It's a cupsole Converse, which I think are becoming more and more popular. There's that Converse fast break that everybody likes to skate. You know, it's hard being on the Converse team. You got all these Volk shoes to skate all the time, so it's nice to have something with a little heft. I like the AS1. It hasn't proved its concept yet. I can't put it in the Instant Hood Classic, but it is absolutely moderately fresh. In fact, I put it above the Louis. All right, last big corporate shoe, and it's the super weirdo oddball. It is the Li Ning Eric Ellington shoe. Eric Ellington, always a bit of a mysterious figure in skateboarding, so it's no surprise he went and did some oddball shit like this. I think the shoes themselves are actually pretty cool. I kind of want to try a pair. They're sitting in multiple colorways on the Li Ning website, and they might be sitting in your local Ross Dress for Less. Sorry, Eric. I like the design language. I like what you're doing. I like that it's different, but let's be real. Nobody is skating these in 2024. While we're on the big chunky tip, let's talk about DC. DC has recently undergone some serious bloodletting. They've only got about 4 guys on the roster right now, and only 2 pro models to choose from. The first of which being the Josh Kalis. I know that there's actually a K Lynx, Josh Kalis upper with a Lynx sole, but Kalis still having a pro model on DC. They're still making it. They're still selling it. I can still see them sitting right now at my local Ross Dress for Less. And somehow, amidst all the bloodletting, John Shanahan has managed to stay on the team. I personally enjoyed his first pro model. I thought it was cool. I think John Shanahan is a cool guy. I think he has enough power and clout within his space. I think he played exactly correctly to his audience on this one. It's a big boot. I don't know about the strap. I wouldn't wear it personally, but he looks good in it. It gets the moderately fresh stamp. Congratulations, John. Let's talk about Soltech for a minute. Soul Technologies is currently hurting bad, I would say. They're grasping at straws. Their catalogs are very weak. Their websites are abhorrent to be on. If you've ever tried to buy shoes off a Soltech website, you are immediately bombarded with pop-ups and banner ads and all kinds of BS. Let's start with Etnies. Etnies has 3 current pro model skate shoes available, first of which being the Aurélien Giraud pro model Etnies shoe. It's pretty unremarkable. They're bringing back the E on a lot of these models, the big sideways E that looks like an M. It doesn't look very good. It's going to be sitting at Ross Dress for Less. Up next, we have the Chris Jocelyn shoe. Also pretty unremarkable, pretty boring. It's a cup sole. I'm sure they're going on sale at your local Zoomies. It's a Ross Dress for Less. All right, last Etnies skater, Andy Anderson. What a diabolical lineup. Aurélien Giraud, Chris Jocelyn, and Andy Anderson. What a crazy room to walk into at the Soltech campus. You walk into a room, those 3 guys are at the board meeting. Don Brown is pouring tequila in his eyes. God help us all. The Andy Anderson shoe, I get what he's going for. It's like a 80s throwback. It's got the big Velcro lace saver. It's pretty heinous. It's a what are those? Okay, S shoes. They currently only have one pro model shoe. It's a throwback, legend status Tom Penny pro model shoe. It's cool. It's cool that they did it. It's cool that they recreated the Tom Penny 2 S shoe. It's cool that Tom Penny's on board. It's cool that they're actually doing an OG silhouette with the OG present, because in the past few years they did the Costin, which they couldn't call the Costin because Costin's on Nike now. It seems like S has been trying to move away from that a little bit and go back to having the actual pros in-house supporting their own product. They did limited runs of that Muska shoe, they did limited runs of the Ronnie Krieger shoe, but it's really all just old head bait. I don't think you're going to be seeing any S Penny 2s at your local skate park anytime soon. But I do like the shoe. I do love Tom Penny. If this gets him out of his shell a little bit, gets him a little bit of coin in his pocket to jump on the train and go skate with the homies, I'm happy about that. I'm putting it in the cromulent tier because I don't know where else to put it. Okay, I'm going to be honest. I've been dreading this. I never thought I would have to say this, but it is time for Emerica. Emerica boasts a staggering 6 pro model shoes available in the catalog. You can buy them today off the Emerica website. They have the second highest number of pro shoes on this entire list, more pro model shoes than Nike or Adidas. Emerica, can you believe it? Here's the problem. Here's the rub. They all look exactly the same, pretty much. So I'm going to run through them really quickly. The Leo Romero, Ross Dress for Less. The Figgy, Ross Dress for Less. The Dakota Servold. Sorry, Dakota. Loved your new footage. The shoe is an absolute what are those? The Kevin Spanky Long KSL. This is another 2000s style chunky throwback. It's terrible, but it is going to go crazy at your local Ross Dress for Less. The John Dixon's Ross Dress for Less. Now, last but most certainly not least, this is one of those ones where I had to choose a specific colorway to illustrate how incredible a shoe can really be. These are the Colin Provost, and these are the ones that look, and there's no other way to say it, a bit like pee-pee. I know it's supposed to look like a fresh, crispy brew that you've just poured, but these are so insane. I almost want to troll everybody and put them up here, but they're an absolute what are those? This is if I see you with these on coming down the street, it's gonna be.
Hold on, brother. Hold on, man. What the hell? Oh my God.
All right, that wraps up Soul Tech. Pretty painful, like I expected. Let's talk about Last Resort. Last Resort's kind of interesting because it follows the skater-owned business model, but it is not completely clowned on. What can I say? Pontus is a bit of a genius. And he certainly had the youth of today rocking his pants, and I think to a lesser extent now, they're rocking his shoes as well. I'm not going to overlook the gifted hater effect. A lot of people don't really understand the amount of influence that Joa really has on the skate game. And I would probably attribute the lion's share of Last Resort sales, here in the US at least, to be connected in some way to his following. Last Resort has made a name for themselves by making unremarkable shoes without big logo slaps on them. Most of them are pretty inoffensive, look pretty cool. If you're a Volk guy, you could do a lot worse these days. That one cup sole that they tried to make seems like an absolute abomination. I haven't seen them in person yet, but the photos are hideous. They've tried to do tassel loafers and wallabies. They're grasping at straws a little bit right now, but they've got one pro model. It is the VM004 Milik. Chris Milik, definitely an oddball on this list, but he fits in perfectly to the hipster vibes. I know the hipsters rejoiced when they got word that there was going to be a Milik Pro shoe. I think it's pretty clean. It's a canvas lace-up with leather overlays, a little bit of a Samba-esque toe cap. They're pretty cool. There have been some good colorways, there have been some bad colorways. But the Milik, in my opinion, is moderately fresh. All right, ours is yours. Another oddball, weird one off. One pro model, it's the Brian Herman Pro model. It's his own shoe company. He got himself into the shoe game, gave himself a pro shoe, didn't give anybody else a pro shoe, made a bunch of loafers. They all have this weird, like, elevated streetwear vibe about them. I don't know what the target demographic is. Maybe like guys that ride Harleys to the golf course. They're pretty bad, I gotta say. Brian Herman is a legend, but this shit is destined for the bargain bin. Oh my god, we're really getting down to the dregs now. If you've made it this far, I salute you. I'll try and make it as painless as possible. FP Footwear, it's all bad. It's all what are those? They've got Neen Williams, they've got Ryan DeCenzo, and they've got Aaron Jaws Hamoki. All three of these shoes are absolutely off the wall terrible. I have no idea what Joey Brzezinski is on. I don't know why you would want on your shoe a little logo of a shoe facing the other way. The colorways are pretty shit, apart from this Ryan DeCenzo green and tan one. This one's kind of so bad it's good, but it's still awful. Yeah, footprint is really bad. Cariuma, my buddy actually had to remind me that Cariuma existed when I went to go do this. Cariuma has two pro model shoes that you can buy today in 2024. They have the Mike V Pro model and the Kelvin Hoffler Pro model. Both of these are absolutely terrible, and I'm convinced the only people that wear them are the people that get them for free, and guys that work at private equity firms who desperately want to make themselves appear human to others on the weekends. Lakai. Unbelievable that Lakai is still in the game. I could have sworn they'd have thrown in the towel by now, but they've got 3 pro models available. The first one I'm going to talk about is this Griffin Gas. I think it's called the Terrace. Interesting thing about Lakai is there is a Lakai Griffin, but it's not the Griffin Gas Pro model. They're all over the place. So Griffin's new pro model is called the Terrace, and I actually don't think it's half bad. I think it's a good direction for Lakai if they're going to stick it out. I've seen them in person. They actually look kind of cool. It's like a low profile tennis, basketball, 80s, 90s kind of thing. Almost looks like an earlier Lakai pared down a bit. I like it. It's moderately fresh in my opinion. Up next, we have the Simon Bannerow, the Trudger, it is called. Terrible name, terrible shoe. What are those? The last Lakai on the list is the Riley Hawk. It is almost completely unremarkable. It's just a high top suede skate shoe, little logo slap on the side, Volk outsole. It is screaming Ross Dress for Less, is it not? All right, if you've made it this far, you really are a trooper, which incidentally is the next shoe we're looking at. It is Chris Cole's pro model on Fallen Footwear, the Trooper. And it is also screaming Ross Dress for Less. Pretty unremarkable, pretty shit. There is a pink colorway of these that I saw that is absolutely gangster and kind of dope, and maybe I'll get a pair. Fallen is also confusingly the only one of these brands that does their product shots on a black background. Go figure. Second to last, we've got the Tommy Sandoval Fallens. Can't remember what this model is called, but it's terrible. It's a Ross Dress for Less special. And last but not least, we've got the Elliott Sloan. Kind of a weird guy to have a pro shoe. He's kind of the only vert rider on here other than Lizzie Armanto. And of the Fallens, it's kind of cool. Definitely the swaggiest, but that's not saying much. It's the best of a bad bunch. It's also going to be blown out at your local Ross Dress for Less. So, what do I think about the state of the skate shoe industry in 2024? I think we're going to see some of these models go away. I think we see a big imbalance here where a lot of this stuff is going to be heading for the outlets. A lot of this stuff is going to be getting your kids beat up on the school bus. And there's only a handful of pro model shoes in 2024 that are going to most likely stand the test of time and hang around for a while. And a lot of them have already been around for a while. I'm interested to hear what you guys think. I'm interested to hear what you guys are skating, especially if you've skated some of these more esoteric, oddball, Ross Dress for Less shoes. I'd like to hear what they're like, or even just know that anybody is buying them. You know, should there even be 50 pro model skate shoes in any given year? It's kind of a lot. Maybe it's a little bit of a hangover effect from the COVID skate industry bloat that everybody's talking about so much. Everybody went into a mad scramble to start producing more and more product to meet the increased demand for skate product, and then it all just vanished when everybody got over it and realized that they weren't going to learn how to kickflip. So I could definitely see some consolidation moving forward in the future, but I think we should always have pro model shoes. I think it's great. I think it's a good way to respect skaters. I think it's a good way to cement a skater's legacy. You know, skateboarding is a mess. It's a tiny industry. There's no money in it. So it's nice when you get to see an OG core skater, such as Alexis Sablone, such as Tom Penny, collecting some checks. Anyway, shout out to everybody who's watching. Go out, have a great sesh, tear your shoes up, and then head over to your local Ross Dress for Less and get some new heaters.